Hello and welcome to another episode of Cooking from the Pioneer Pantry. My name is Cory Van Zytveld. In this episode, we will be making refreshing switchel and two other refreshing drinks. Switchel, or haymaker's punch as it was often called, was a type of drink that was brought out into the fields and drunk when people were making hay or harvesting hay or doing any other physically exerting activity. So for that reason, it was known as the sports drink of the past. To make switchel, we'll need apple cider vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar for this, but I prefer apple cider vinegar because of the taste. Honey, you can use any sort of sweetening. It depends on where in the country you were from and what you had available. We have bees on our farm, so I'm using honey, but you could use sugar or molasses. Ginger, ground ginger, and then water as well. I have my vinegar here. I'm using about 1/4 cup. Pour that in, and also 1/4 cup of honey. The important thing about making switchel, especially when you're making drinks with vinegar, is it's really to taste what you prefer. You may prefer it sweeter or a little bit more sour. Put I think I have about a teaspoon of ground ginger in there. And then 3 cups of water. And I'll stir that till it's all incorporated. And of course you could use fresh ginger for this. In 1860s Colorado, you probably use ground if it was easier to transport, more accessible. And then use this to taste with, even though it's covered in honey. Let's see. That's good. I think it's right on target. Could be a little bit sweeter, but I think it's just fine. Now that we've made our switchel, we have 2 other recipes that we can make, a pocket lemonade and then a shrub. For pocket lemonade, lemons weren't easy to come by, especially early on in Colorado. Later on, you could start seeing them in grocery stores and things like that, but when people first started coming out to Colorado, lemons were hard to come by. However, they could bring out with them lemon extract. So that's what we'll be using to make our lemonade today. And to make our lemonade, I'll be using a teaspoon of lemon extract, 2½ tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1/4 cup of sugar, and then 2 cups of water. I'll begin by pouring my apple cider vinegar into my pitcher here. I can do a teaspoon of my lemon, and then 1/4 cup of sugar. Ooh, it's smelling very lemony. And then pour my 2 cups of water in there. Give that a nice stir. Another way to satisfy your craving for lemonade in the mid-19th century, especially in a place like Colorado, was to buy or make something called portable lemonade. And portable lemonade was most basically a paste of sugar, lemon juice, and citric acid that they mixed together, and then later you could put that into water to make your lemonade. So it was a way to carry your lemonade around with you, so you could have it whenever you wanted it. The last drink that we'll be making is a raspberry shrub. A shrub was a drink that the British brought to the Americas with them, and it was essentially a syrup that they added to water or to an alcoholic beverage to create a tasty drink. A shrub was also a good way to preserve fresh berries. And so for our recipe today, we'll need 2 cups of raspberries and a cup of vinegar. I have let the raspberries soak in the vinegar for a few days, and this gets the juice out of the raspberries and into our vinegar. I'll also need a 1/4 cup of sugar. To begin our shrub, I will actually filter the raspberries through a cloth. If you have a mesh sieve at home, you can use that, but as we don't have one, I will just use a clean cloth. And this removes all of the bits of raspberry, so you're left over with just the juice. And then I'll squeeze the extra juice out. And now that we have our raspberry juice with the vinegar in here, I'll add my sugar and I'll sprinkle it in, give it a nice stir, and then I'll take it over to the fire and let it cook for a bit. So raspberries and other berries oftentimes could be found in the mountains. People would go up to the mountains and go berry picking. You can also grow raspberries and strawberries, other types of berries in Colorado. So the longer that people were here, they would be able to establish berry bushes in their gardens and harvest those berries and use them in recipes like this one. The vinegar was very helpful because it would preserve and keep those berries fresh for a long time. This vinegar has been used for a very long time to preserve different vegetables and fruits. My shrub has been boiling over the fire for about 10 minutes. I'll take it off the fire and once it's cool, I will be able to add it to a drink. So I can use about a tablespoon of this to a cup of water. You can also add it to an alcoholic beverage if you prefer, but if that's the case, just be sure to drink responsibly. And I'll let this cool and then I can try it. My refreshing vinegar-based drinks are all finished, so I'll give them a try. I have my switchel first. A little bit murkier than the other two, but I think that's because we put more vinegar in it. It's definitely got a nice kick. It's in the back of the throat with the vinegar and the ginger. That of course can be adjusted some, but still very tasty, and I would call it refreshing. And next we have our pocket lemonade. So this looks like lemonade to me. Maybe not quite as yellow as our typical lemonades, but that could be modern dyes too. So this one definitely tastes lemony. I can taste a little bit of the vinegar. It's not quite the same sour as lemon, but again, still very good. And then last but not least, we have our raspberry shrub. We took a little bit of it and added to water, and let's give that a try. And this one I can't say I taste a raspberry as much. It's very faint hint of raspberry, but the vinegar is not too overpowering it either. So I would say all worth a shot, worth a try. They are very tasty in their own right. Thank you for joining us on this episode where we tried 3 refreshing vinegar-based drinks. If you'd like to find these recipes, please visit our website at the City of Littleton website under the Littleton at Museum page on the Museum at Home tab. And thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in future videos.